Very quick word about abortion, a very quick word about deregulation. Abortion first. We talk about birth control and abortion. Let's set aside for one moment the debate about whether or not abortion is a constitutional right. I would submit that it is not. You can read the Constitution, squeeze lemon juice on it, hold it upside down. It's just not in there. But let's assume it was. Let's assume it was sort of invisibly there as part of the Bill of Rights. Right up there with free speech and right up there with the right to religion and the right to assembly and so on. Here's my question to you. Why should the abortion right be subsidized when none of our other fundamental rights are?
Welcome back, everyone. It's Talks with Kenny here. Today we're reacting to a video from D'Souza. I really love D'Souza. D'Souza is the most like this man opened my eyes to like history, and he got me interested in history because history used to be the most boring thing in the world to me. But when D'Souza started talking about history and certain things, I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. He was the one who really got the ball rolling in my head about like trying to actually know the history of the country that I was born and raised in, right? I think too many people, too many American citizens live here, but don't know exactly what it took to get the privileges, rules, and the way of life that we got handed down to by our forefathers. But I digress. Let's get into the video.
All right. Somewhat like the mosquito in the nudist colony, I'm trying to figure out where to begin.
So tonight you have presented the Republican Party as advocating on behalf of individual liberties, even if that means deregulation so that there could be a smaller government and essentially people can have more freedoms, personal freedoms. Despite the fact that that might undermine the Clean Water Act and lead companies to pollute the waters with toxic waste with no repercussions. However, my question to you is, how can you explain the deregulation that the Republican Party supports for smaller government, and simultaneously the hundreds, if not thousands, of bills passed by Republican officials since 2011 that have policed the woman's body and limited female access to contraceptives and to abortion?
Well, I don't know. Like maybe the framing might be disingenuous in my view. But one thing I would say is that Republicans in the platform that they're running on technically is to do for self, right? And we just want to empower people to do what they will with the resources, right? We don't want the government to be in the way. The government is here as more of a referee. That's the Republican view of how government should operate. Government should be a referee. We should make sure everyone's playing by the same rules and the same we make sure the rules are applied the same and that no one breaks the law and order that is established by the government, right? As efficiently as possible. I think that's the ideal. Now, what I think is she has a bad faith argument is that the Republicans and the Democrats are focusing on two different things. The Republicans are focused on human rights. Democrats are focused on women's rights. What are you talking about, Kenny? Okay. If Republicans saying, hey, you as an individual have no right to kill another individual, that's the law, right? Unless it's due to self-defense. That's the only way we'll allow you to, that's the only exception will allow you, one individual, to take the life of another when they're in a threat of harm. Okay. So it all goes down to discussion. Is a human life, when does the human life begin? If you can't answer that question, then you don't understand the Republican viewpoint, because the Republican viewpoint is, hey, that's a life. It deserves rights. It deserves to be born. It deserves to play by the rules because the government has a interest in the human life of the child. While Democrats focus on, women should be the gatekeepers of life. Women can decide after even the moment of birth to abort the kid. The Democrats want the women to be the arbitrary, the gatekeepers of life and death. They want babies to be perceived as woman's property. That's the only genuine view of the abortion argument that I can conceptualize without having compromised my actual beliefs on the matter. I think I rambled on there, but let's see what D'Souza gives her, what evidence he gives her. Sorry, I'm rambling.
All right. Somewhat like the mosquito in the nudist colony, I'm trying to figure out where to begin. Well, all right. So I'll say a very quick word about abortion, a very quick word about deregulation. Abortion first. We talk about birth control and abortion. Let's set aside for one moment the debate about whether or not abortion is a constitutional right. I would submit that it is not. You can read the Constitution, squeeze lemon juice on it, hold it upside down. It's just not in there. Mm-hmm. But let's assume it was. Let's assume it was sort of invisibly there as part of the Bill of Rights. Right up there with free speech and right up there with the right to religion and the right to assembly and so on. Here's my question to you. Why should the abortion right be subsidized when none of our other fundamental rights are? I mean, you have a right to free speech. Does the government give you money to start a newspaper? You have a Second Amendment right to own a gun. Is the government going to buy you a shotgun? You have a right to free assembly. You got to do it on your own time. You have a right to free exercise of religion. The government's not going to pay for your churches.
It falls on what I was saying, that the government just wants to be. This is the Republican view now. The government is just supposed to referee, make sure everything, the laws are the same, roads are built, whatever, right? And they have as limited involvement with private matters and private stuff as limited as possible. The abortion debate, I already outlined it again. I'm not going to rehash that. But Republicans have the view that, hey, every life deserves to be born. And your rights can't override someone else's rights. Oh, I want to kill the baby. I don't want to have to take care of the baby. Well, the baby's being born. The baby has to be born. You can give it up for adoption. You don't have to have no responsibility to the baby, but you have no right to end the baby's life. That's the Republican view. If you can't understand the Republican view, you can't understand why. This is the only way I believe in a Democratic voter or a liberal-minded person or just someone who's just pro-abortion. That's the concept they can't understand. This is why they see it as a contradiction that, oh, you guys are limited government, but you're trying to police what I can do. Well, we're trying to prevent you from committing murder. That's how the Republicans are looking at it.
So since the government pays for none of our other fundamental rights, why does this right get to be in a category of itself? That's my point number one. Pivoting to point number two. No corporation that pollutes the water should be allowed to do that because that is an actual infringement upon the common good. In other words, that is actually doing harm to the public. This is completely different from the real point of deregulation. The real point of deregulation is to create a scope in which individuals can transact freely. Now, let me give you an example of what I mean. We have a right to health care, and presumably we have an equivalent right to food, right? To eat. What could be more basic than the right to food? Now, let's assume that the government establishes not Obamacare, because that's healthcare, but an Obama right to food. And the basic idea here is that when you go to the grocery store, you can get food, and somebody else will pay. So you walk into the grocery store, you fill up your cart. I would submit, first of all, that you will excessively fill up your cart because you're not paying.
Mm-hmm. And that's true. And that's my view too. Like, I think I don't want people to take advantage of benefits, right? This is my problem with welfare, other social programs that are used on the pretext of helping people, is that people will take advantage. Bad actors will take advantage, right? And here's another concept, and I actually agree with D'Souza's point about when you do something, it's on someone else's dime, right? Abortion is the same thing. You get to pick whether the baby lives or dies, but no matter what, the male's responsible for the choice. If the man says, hey, I want the baby, and you don't want the baby, baby's gone. But if you want the baby and man said, hey, I'm not ready for this kid, you still make him a father against his will. How is that equal and fair, right? oh, your government's restricting to what I can do with my body. Well, you're forcing someone else to be liable for your choice. How's that fair? How's that good? So when Republicans come here and effectively try to make you equal, oh, men don't have reproductive rights. You shouldn't have reproductive rights, woman. Oh, you don't want to get mad. Have at it. But that's something you have to correlate that with me. And this is why I'm pro-life. One of the reasons why I'm pro-life is that I believe everyone has an opportunity. Everyone should have an opportunity. Equal opportunity, not equal outcome. Hey, you may not have the best life compared to everyone else, but I agree with your right to be here, because you can turn that around. If it's meant to be, it's up to you. If it's meant to be, it's up to me. That's it. Well, we can help, you can aid, whatever, but at the end of the day, you have to make the decision to create meaning for your life. Hey, I was born for a reason. Let me act on it. How many future doctors, future presidents that we possibly could have killed because one person decided it's more convenient for you to die than for me to bring you to term, send you adopted, or take care of you myself? A lot of black community, 76% single motherhood. So if all those single mothers thought those kids aren't worth having, the black community will even be 76% gone. If we thought like the typical liberal logic, oh, what if the woman can't take care of the kid? Single moms are the black single moms has been able to do it somehow, and all I'm saying is everyone else can too. But I'm wrong for that. I digress.
And you're going to show up at the counter, at which point the woman behind the counter will notice that not only have you excessively filled up your cart, but since you're not paying, you don't care what the prices are. And so suddenly milk will start costing $45 because some third guy is actually going to be footing the bill. Now, I would submit that this is in a nutshell what's wrong with our healthcare system. That whenever you go to the doctor, the reason that it costs $3,000 when you have a cold is not because it actually costs $3,000. If you were paying, they'd bill you $75. But since you're not paying, and the insurance company is paying, and the government is paying them, the doctor realizes, I'm going to run 45 tests, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, it's all going to be money in my pocket, it's going to be money for the hospital, and this poor dude isn't the worst off. So most of the time when we go to the doctor, we don't even ask what it's going to cost.
This is why the government is the problem, not the solution, because them being involved automatically corrupts the process, right? That if I'm paying for it, I'll be interested in the price, the procedure, the quality. Hey, the quality of service doesn't match up with the price. That's 1-to-1. But when a third party actor is like, oh, I'm gonna pay for it, do whatever you want, Kenny. Okay, I don't care necessarily about the quality, and I don't care about the cost. So that opens you up for what? Inefficiency. This is the reason why big government is so bloated, inefficient, unresourceful. They mismanage resources so heavily because they don't know what actually works and what doesn't work, because they're not actually affected by said policy. And that's my number one problem with government. This is why I want less government. Because when government do something, they put all these policies, they're not necessarily affected about what's going on. Only the people are affected. The government keep trying giving themselves raise when they're causing inflation. They don't feel the effects of their bad policies. And I think there needs to be some way of some repercussions for doing that. But the only repercussion that I know is that people vote people out. Vote these politicians out. Hey, you caused inflation. You made my life harder. And you gave yourself, we don't have the luxury of giving ourselves raises to match inflation. You do, public servant, politician. And your bad choices, your bad policy making made my life harder. So now I'm going to vote you out. And that's what the people need to realize, that politicians are almost protected from the repercussions of their bad policy making. And that is up to us, the will of the people, Americans, to hold the politicians accountable. The only repercussion they understand is when they lose power. Done. But I digress.
Because we don't care. Because some third guy is paying. So the argument for deregulation is to try to create a healthcare system where people do have healthcare protections, but in which costs are kept down because the guy who's receiving the service is actually paying for it. Let me just throw out a wild idea. If the government were to say to you, everybody in this country has catastrophic health insurance from now on. In other words, if you have a heart attack, You have some catastrophic illness, it's covered. But for routine healthcare, right, everyone who is under a certain income bracket, we're going to give you a $5,000 check, right? You're free to spend that money on healthcare, and if you don't use it, you can keep what you don't spend. I assure you that this will send a shockwave through the whole healthcare system. It changes the whole set of incentives because suddenly the money is your money. No third guy is paying. Now remember, you're covered for catastrophic, which is actually quite inexpensive because catastrophic events are rare.
Yeah.
What actually drives our healthcare costs up is routine healthcare. And that's why Obamacare is so expensive, is it covers routine healthcare, which people should pay for.
I agree. People should pay for that. That was sound logic. Like I want the common everyday American to have a in-depth, comprehensive understanding of how our economy works, our government, because I think that's what we were missing in public school. I think public school is supposed to prepare us to know all these things so that someone doesn't have to reteach us this stuff. But it's crazy how like the lack of education we have about our own political system, our own economic system, how things work, how capitalism work, incentives, opportunity costs. We lack all that. But hey, I digress. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.